What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Lead Start Piano. Today, we're going to be talking about the concept or even the myth that you need to be practicing for hours and hours per day in order to make real progress at the piano. I'm going to tell you why that's not true, why you don't need to practice for hours a day. I'm going to tell you how you can practice for as little as 20 minutes per day and still make just as much progress as somebody who's playing for 3 hours per day. I know the math doesn't add up, but it is possible for you to make more progress even though they're practicing way more than you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Point number one is you don't need to practice for hours per day as long as you are practicing with high quality. So what does that mean? First of all, let me explain what bad practice looks like. A lot of people, they say, they practice for an hour a day, 2 hours per day, but during that hour, they are texting other people, they're scrolling social media, they are playing pieces that they already know, they are playing with their cat or dog when they come into their practice room, whatever it is. And the amount they actually practice might be 10 minutes, it might be 30 minutes, but it's definitely not the full 2 hours or the full hour. If you are not super conscious and aware of exactly every single second or minute of your practice session, then I can guarantee you, without even knowing you, that a lot of your practice session is getting wasted. It's just going out into the ethers, it's going as lost time that you can never get back. The solution for this is to take your phone out, turn off notifications so you're not getting text messages, you're not getting email notifications, you're not getting Instagram notifications of somebody liking your post. Turn all that off, take out your timer, or even better, if you have a stopwatch or some kind of physical clock that you can time your practice session. So if you are practicing for an hour per day, you can have that entire hour split up. So the first 10 minutes you do some kind of warm up, then you jump into playing your piece, and then you end with some arpeggio work or something like that. But if you're not timing your practice sessions and you don't have a plan for what you're supposed to be practicing, again, you are most definitely wasting time and you're having gaps leak out of your practice session that is causing you to waste time because you're sitting down at the piano, but you're not actually practicing. And if the goal is to practice and improve and you're not doing that, then you're wasting time. So that's point number one. Point number two, in order to have a good practice session, even with not practicing for an hour a day, let's go back to our 20-minute example, you need to have three pieces to your practice session. So as long as you have these three pieces and as long as you are, again, aware of what you're supposed to be doing and you're actually doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you are practicing at a high level, a much higher level than a lot of other people. First thing you need to practice is you need to have your warm up, but you can also throw in your technique work into that, okay? So you can combine the warm up and the technique all in one. So if you're practicing for 20 minutes, this can be the first 5 minutes of your practice session. And you can do this by practicing scales is huge. And you can practice scales a bunch of different ways, which I'm not going to get into. I'll get into a couple. You can do 2 octaves, you can do 1 octave, you can do it one hand at a time, you can do both hands at a time, you can do parallel motion, both hands go up at the same time, both hands go down. You can do contrary motion where your hands go in opposite directions. I mean, there's a whole bunch you can do, scales in thirds or tenths, right? So that would be great. That would take care of your technique work. It would also get you moving up and down the piano so that you're warmed up. That's one example. You could also do something like playing chords in a scale. So you just pick a random scale, you play all the chords going up, all the chords going down. You can do arpeggios, so just broken chords. You can play it in one hand, both hands, whatever you want to do. And you can get creative with this. As long as you are moving up and down the piano and you're working on some kind of technique, then that's perfect for your first 5 minutes of your practice session. Once that is done, then you can move into the meat and potatoes of the session, which is going to be your song work. So whatever song, whatever piece that you're working on at that time, that'll be the next 10 minutes if you're only practicing for 20 minutes. Now we're at 15. The last 5 minutes of your practice session is going to be something fun. You should always end on a high note when you're practicing the piano because remember, piano is supposed to be fun. So Even if you just had a frustrating practice session, you feel like you didn't get a lot done, you feel like you didn't play that well, as long as you end on a high note, you end your practicing with something fun, then you're going to be much more likely to come back the next day and stay consistent with your practice routine. So something fun is up to you. If you want to try to do some ear training, if you want to try to just continue on the piece that you're working on, if you want to start a brand new piece, if you want to improvise, whatever it is that you want to do, the last 5 minutes, that should be used for that. And that can be guilt-free. You're not wasting time by doing that. It's very beneficial for you. And that will complete your high-quality practice session. So again, depending on how long you practice, how long your practice days are, you can adjust this based on what you need, but you at least want to have the 3 pieces, the warm-up and the technique, that's rolled into one. Then you're going to be practicing your piece, and then you'll be ending with practicing something fun, okay? Point number 3, consistency. So if you are practicing, let's take something really simple. You're practicing for 10 minutes per day, 7 days a week. So in a week's time, you practice for 70 minutes total, right? If you take that person, 10 minutes per day, 7 days a week, and you compare them with a person who is practicing for 70 minutes in one day, so they practice an hour and 10 minutes on Sundays, and then they don't touch the piano again until Sunday. If you take those 2 people, somebody who practices for 10 minutes a day, someone who practices for 1 day a week, but it's for over an hour, every single time, 10 times out of 10, the person who is practicing every day for smaller chunks is going to improve at a much faster rate, okay? And this is not only true with piano, this is true for every other skill. If you're into weightlifting, right? If you're into playing chess, you're trying to get better at chess, you want to become a better knitter, you want to become a better artist, whatever it is that you're looking to get better at, computer programmer, whatever it is, break it up into smaller chunks every single day. One of the reasons why this works so well, especially for the piano, is because piano is a physical instrument. Obviously, it's a full body instrument, but it's also very mental. You have to really use your brain, especially when you're new to the piano, because you have to think about what you're doing, right? And when you have to use your brain, when you have a mental activity, your brain learns when you're sleeping. So it learns the next day. So if you play for an hour and 10 minutes 1 day a week and you basically cram everything into your brain, that next time you practice again, you're going to be starting from square one because your brain's not going to be able to retain all of that information after one time. Where if you only practice for 10 minutes per day, 7 days a week, you're much more likely to remember what you did earlier on, and your brain has time to actually consume and fully understand what it is that you're trying to teach it when you go to bed. And then when you wake up the next morning, you are going to be in a much better spot. You're going to have actually improved over the night previously. Okay. So even if somebody is outplaying you, they say, I've been practicing for 4 hours every single day or 4 hours twice a week. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really mean anything because the consistency is what's much more important. And again, the quality of your practice session outbeats the quantity of your practice session every single time. And we'll get into the next point here. So again, when you are practicing, you want to lock in. You want to eliminate all distractions. So all distractions from your phone, from your job, from your family, from your pets, from your friends. When you practice the piano, you need to set a time that is just for you. So it doesn't matter if somebody is trying to get your attention, maybe your friend's calling you, you have a coworker who is texting you for whatever, none of that matters when it's your time to practice. That is your practice session, that is your practice time, and don't let anybody come into that and take that time away from you. Because if you start allowing your time to be taken away from you, then it's going to be much more easier for that to happen in the future. It's going to happen again and again. So you need to set your boundaries. Again, set the boundaries with your coworkers, your family, your friends, even your pets. If you have to shut the door on them. I have a cat, and sometimes he tries to sit on my lap when I play the piano. I just need to take him off, put him outside the room, shut the door, and let me get my practice in. After that, we'll spend time together. But the practicing, when it's my time to practice the piano, that's what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else. And that's what you should be doing in your practice sessions as well. Next point here is, with all that said, the kind of conclusion of this is you can get as much work done, as much progress done in a much shorter amount of time than even someone who's practicing for a long time, right? As long as you're doing what we said from start to finish, you have that high quality practice session, you're hitting your technique, your warm up, your piece, and then you're ending with something fun. You're not allowing any distractions in the room. You're being consistent. You're practicing daily. If you are doing all of those things I just told you to do, you're going to be progressing a lot faster than somebody who's playing for 3 hours, let's say once a week or twice a week. Guaranteed. Even though they might be playing time wise a lot more than you, at least they are sitting down at the piano a lot more than you time wise. If they're not using that time effectively, then it doesn't really matter. They're wasting their time. Let them do that. You, on the other hand, you know the exact way you need to practice. You know what needs to be done. And even though you're practicing a lot less than them every day, in the long term, after 6 months, after a year, it's going to be very clear that you did improve and that you are getting a lot better because the results will be speaking for themselves. All right. So again, that's my conclusion. Even if somebody is practicing more than you, or you feel like you should be practicing for hours a day, it's not about the quantity of your playing. It's much more about the quality of what you play. So with all that said, I do have a free PDF on my website. Link to that is down below. It gives you 34 essential tips for the brand new adult beginner piano player, how to play the piano, practice strategies, music theory, and more about mindset and approach. It's completely free to get that. Link is down below. In addition, I am offering lessons right now via Zoom. To get started with that, send me an email. Email is listed down below in the description. Again, my name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano, and happy practicing.